Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Crazy Lightbulb, and I want to talk to you guys about Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I've done a couple videos already of Dungeons and Dragons, and honestly, Dungeons and Dragons was something that was a real turner in my life. And I'm a lot older now, but I would like to talk about how I was in high school and basically high school and junior high. Now, before I met my friends and before they introduced me in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and even Star Wars universe and every other tabletop game, not necessarily the movies, but honestly, the tabletop role playing games themselves, and I was honestly that little loner kid that really couldn't relate to anyone. Nobody. Um, I was trying to fit in. I didn't know my place, and I really just couldn't relate to anybody in the world, it felt like. And I went through some very, very, very massive depression because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what really, I knew I loved video games, but everybody loves video games. It's not something that makes me unique and special. Um, and I had to find my calling. I had to find something that made me happy. And being alone and having tremendously terrible thoughts about myself, about how I looked, about sadly, how I couldn't get a girlfriend, or um, how I felt so alone because I didn't have any brothers or sisters and such. And it was a rough life for me, and I had to find myself, and it was very hard to find something that can open myself up. And the reason why I love Dungeons and Dragons, not the video game, but Dungeons and Dragons themselves. um when I first started playing, I actually was playing with it was like a kind of like a club at school that me and my friends went to, and our substitute teacher at the time uh, sat us down and showed us this game, Dungeons and Dragons. And I remember playing the Wizard as my first time, and I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue how to go about things or what I was doing, but it turned out that it was fun. It was great. And then when I graduated high school, I ended up playing. Uh, my substitute teacher ended up becoming one of my greatest friends of all time, um, and he was our dungeon master at the time, and he was so fun. And I remember playing 8 hours at a time every week, just playing this game, role playing as my character. And when I'm talking about role playing, it's a way for me to act as somebody I'm not. So in the real life world, you can't be a thief. You can't go around stealing stuff. But in this game where basically you're acting out, and in this kind of theatrical game, you get to roll to see these dice to see if you get to play or not. And I had so much fun. And honestly, this actually got me more connected with people, more connected with my friends. And then it opened up a whole new set for me, to more friends. And I wasn't just the type of person to love anime and love certain things like anime, sci-fi, fantasy, like all that stuff. But it turned out that Dungeons and Dragons was a great way for me to help my depression and help my so-called loneliness, because it was a way for me not only to get out of the house, but it was a way for me to actually communicate, and it was a way for me not to be super antisocial. I used to be that kid where I would stay in my house playing video games for hours and hours and hours on end, and just sitting there eating whatever junk food I can find. Yes, I did join sports at the time, and I did start doing this, but I always felt out of place. And then finally, when I came across Dungeons and Dragons, and it allowed me to go to game stores. It allowed me to go to different things, and I started meeting new people, and I started communicating. I started knowing what conventions were, and then I started really opening up. And then, little behold, certain things I realized that it's so much fun, and it's a way to open yourself and get out in the world. And it helped me with my depression so much, and I honestly, and I think of it now that, certain things that, I know there's therapy groups out there that actually do Dungeons and Dragons as therapy to kind of open up the person and kind of help them out and get them expressing themselves a little bit more. Sometimes when you play Dungeons and Dragons, you actually get so into the game that even though you think you're acting as a character, you're really acting as yourself, and you're expressing who you really are. And it's really fun, but it's not for everyone, I guarantee, but it's something that helped me out. And honestly, when I'm stressed out, or when I have problems, or when I just this is a great way for me to kind of just like taking a nature walk. It's a way to kind of zone out and forget about the world and kind of do your own thing, but at the same time do it with people that care about you and people that you have fun with, friends, family, just meeting new people. It's a great way to experience yourself and experience who you really are. And the one thing about Dungeons and Dragons that I'll never forget is when I made my first character, and I became so invested in this character that it was sad for me when it actually finally ended. I was a Dragonborn, which is kind of a half man, half dragon, and I finally got my dragon wings and I was able to fly. It made me feel so free. Honestly, this game is a great way to express yourself. When you really invest the time and you really put time and true effort into this game, you actually tend to find yourself, and I ended up finding myself, and honestly, I know who I am. I'm a full-out nerd. I'm a dork. I love nerdy things. I'm a jack of all trades. I love anime, sci-fi, fantasy, basically everything. There's certain things that I don't like, but everybody has their ifs and buts. But honestly, Dungeons and Dragons extremely helped me out, and I can't thank people enough. And one of the things I wanted to show you is back in I believe in the 70s and the 80s, there was commercials for Dungeons and Dragons. So I would like to show you these commercials. These are on YouTube. They're not the best quality because these are very old commercials. So bear with me. If you do want to see these commercials, you can always go back on the YouTube channel that I'm showing you. These are not my videos. These are videos that somebody else posted on their YouTube, and we're going to go from there. So here's the first one. So this one's only 31 seconds, but if it's a little loud, I apologize. So hopefully it's not too loud.
Your dungeon master has placed you in a dreadfully precarious position. You're playing the most phenomenal game ever created. Your skin grows cold from your first glimpse of the enormous beast. It's a product of your imagination. Survival depends on a quick, decisive move. Your choices are limited. Stand and fight, or run. Use your lightning bolt. Victory is yours.
Win the treasure.
TSR Hobbies. Dungeons and Dragons games. Products of your imagination.
I mean, that was an awesome commercial, and to be honest, it's true. You do have choices. What choices are you going to make? This is great for, because, in real life it's hard because you don't feel like you have a lot of choices in life, but you really do. And the moment that you realize that, the moment that you feel more at peace with yourself, and I guess this is what this game actually kind of did for me. It realized that I did have choices. Not only was I role-playing a character, but I had a choice to be evil, good, am I chaotic, crazy, or am I lawfully just morally good? It's like you never know what you could be in this game, and it's so much fun and so exciting. And to be honest, it's a great way to communicate. It's a great way to get out of your little bubble and enjoy yourself. And honestly, that commercial kind of almost says it all. But I have another commercial right here. So this is the 1984 commercial. We'll check this out right now.
challenge your imagination to come alive and to battle with the creatures of Dungeons and Dragons. Grapple against the forces of evil as a Marvel Comics superhero. Hunt adventure and glory as Indiana Jones. The all-new role-playing games of TSR and Dungeons and Dragons. Unleash the power of your imagination.
And to be honest, that was an amazing video. Because not only did it show you that Dungeons & Dragons is the only role-playing tabletop game out there, there was Indiana Jones, there was Marvel characters, superheroes, there's also Dark Heresy out there, which is basically Warhammer 40k, there's Pathfinders, which is another alternate kind of scenery, but very similar to Dungeons & Dragons. There's so much role-playing tabletop games out there, and for you to find the one that you love to do and to be able to get invested and embedded into this game to the point where you feel so awesome acting as this character and being this character that you realize that you being this character, you know, it's your character. So if you love the character, you basically love yourself too, and you enjoy the thing that you created. It's almost like something that you made from scratch in your life, and you feel so accomplished by it. And honestly, I recommend Dungeons and Dragons to everyone. I mean, it helps out when it comes to communication skills. It helps out to depression. In my perspective, it did, and it's a way for you to. It's a way for you to escape. It's a way for you just to enjoy. I mean, you don't have to be nerdy and be super, statistic in the game. You can just literally have a couple of beers and just play this game and role play it out and roll some dice and have some fun. You could also join another game where you're doing this competitively and you're actually trying to go through the dungeon strategically with certain amount of spunk. I mean, it's all up to you. I mean, the possibilities are limitless with this kind of universe and this kind of role-playing. Anyways, that is Dungeons and Dragons and how it helped me with depression. And yes, there is always going to be times where there's going to be a little bit of depression and sadness going around. There's always going to be that time where you could get a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of that ability to overthink. Those, honestly, it's actually very normal, and it's very hard to control those emotions. But to be honest, you think that you're not normal, but you realize that there's a lot of people out there that are depressed and that go through the same thing. And this is one of the major things in my life that helped me through so much. I think honestly, I have to say, if I think Dungeons and Dragons was not in my life, I don't know if I would be here. I don't know. I don't know if I would have got swallowed up by my depression. And I'm very thankful for Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm also thankful for Critical Role. Critical Role is also one of the things that I watch, and they are just the example of friends getting together and overcoming all odds and having a wonderful time expressing themselves and just enjoying a story. And not only that, but they are very accomplished people in their lives, and they are an inspiration to many. And I like to thank Critical Role for bringing Dungeons and Dragons back to the world and showing how wonderful it is and how helpful it is that it can be for you. And I want to say thank you to everyone. And my name is Crazy Lightbulb, so please like and subscribe and comment at the bottom. And just remember, you are the one that makes your choices in life. You are the only one that can make choices, no one else. And just like in Dungeons and Dragons, you have a choice. to do whatever you want and however you want it. You're not stopped by the video game walls or video game rules, or this is an open world where you can choose anything that you want to do. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much. My name is Crazy Lightbulb. Have a good one.